Oh, man. Run some dirt on it, bro. Run some dirt on it. Run some dirt on it. You ain't hurt.
Remember when you first realized wrestling wasn't 100% real? For many fans, it was during one of these unscripted moments. Whether it was a touching tribute, a scary injury, or just a funny blooper, these are the times when we saw the real people behind the larger-than-life characters. Ready to relive some of WWE's most genuine moments? Let's talk about kayfabe for a second. It's this big fancy word that basically means keeping up the act. WWE has always been about making us believe the drama is real. But here's where things get interesting. Sometimes that act slips, and we get to see what's really going on behind the scenes. And let me tell you, we're about to dive into some of the most shocking, hilarious, and heartfelt moments in WWE history. Stick with us because you're not going to want to miss this. When wrestlers couldn't keep a straight face. Now, we all know wrestlers are tough, but keeping a straight face, that's a whole different kind of strength. What if the toughest challenge isn't dodging a clothesline, but trying not to burst out laughing when things go hilariously wrong? Let's be real, even the most seasoned pros can slip up sometimes. WWE superstars might seem larger than life, but they're human too. And sometimes that humanity shines through in the most unexpected and hilarious ways. Take Kofi Kingston, for example. Back in 2009, he was rocking this Jamaican character, complete with a thick accent. But during a promo on Raw, something wild happened. Kofi accidentally dropped his accent mid-sentence. Can you imagine? There he was, in front of thousands of fans, suddenly sounding like, well. But here's where it gets good. Triple H, known for his quick wit, didn't miss a beat. The crowd lost it. What could have been a total disaster turned into comedy gold. That's the magic of live TV, folks. And it's not just the wrestlers who can fumble. Even the announcers aren't immune to on-air slip-ups. Remember Mean Gene Okerlund? At SummerSlam 1989, he was doing a live backstage interview when a sign fell behind him. His reaction? He dropped an F-bomb on live TV.
Gentlemen, as you know, the Ultimate Warrior has publicly stated that, damn it, who put that up? Is that $200 an hour?
But the show must go on, right? You might think these slip-ups would be bad for business. But here's the thing, they often have the opposite effect. When wrestlers or announcers make these very human mistakes, it actually makes them more relatable. We see the real people behind the characters. And that connection with the fans? It gets even stronger. Responding to real injuries. But it's not always fun and games in the ring. Sometimes the action gets too real, even for the toughest wrestlers. What happens when a superstar has to choose between staying in character and potentially saving a life? The answer might surprise you. We've all seen those high-flying moves and painful, right? Well, sometimes they are. Wrestling might be scripted, but the risks are very real. These athletes put their bodies on the line every time they step into the ring. And occasionally, things don't go as planned. Take the match between Chris Jericho and Neville on Raw in 2016. It was supposed to be just another night of action-packed entertainment, but in a split second, everything changed. Neville attempted a simple baseball slide, a move he'd done countless times before. This time, though, something went wrong. His ankle gave way, and suddenly, this wasn't just another match anymore. It was a moment of raw, unscripted concern that fans don't often get to see. Think about it. How many times have you seen a wrestler break character like that? It's pretty rare, right? That's because staying in character is a huge part of wrestling. It's what keeps the illusion alive. But Jericho's actions that night showed us that there are some things more important than keeping up appearances. For the fans watching, it was an eye-opening moment. Sure, we all know wrestling is scripted to some degree, but seeing a wrestler prioritize his opponent's health over the match outcome, that's powerful stuff. It reminds us that these aren't just characters we're watching. They're real people with real concerns and real friendships. When emotion overtakes character. That strong bond between wrestlers isn't just for emergencies. Sometimes it shines through in the most unexpected moments. Ever wondered what happens when a WWE superstar has to choose between their on-screen persona and honoring a fallen friend? The answer might just change how you see these larger-than-life characters. Take Chavo Guerrero, for example. Back in 2005, he was playing this character called Kerwin White. It was your typical wrestling gimmick. Loud, in your face, and nothing like the real Chavo. But then something happened that changed everything. Chavo's uncle, the legendary Eddie Guerrero, passed away suddenly.
After Eddie passed, Vince, Triple H, Shawn Michaels all came to me at Eddie's hotel room. And we're in the hallway and they're like, what do I do? Vince goes, do I cancel the show? I'm like, absolutely not. Eddie would never have wanted you to cancel the show.
Now imagine you're Chavo. You're in the middle of this storyline playing this character that has nothing to do with your real self or your family's legacy. What do? Well, Chavo did something pretty amazing. He dropped the Kerwin White act completely. Just like that, he was back to being Chavo Guerrero, honoring his family name and his uncle's memory. This wasn't just a small thing. Chavo went out there and had an upset victory over John Bradshaw Layfield, dedicating it to Eddie. Can you picture that moment? The emotion in the ring, the crowd's reaction. That's the kind of real, raw moment that wrestling doesn't always show us.
How difficult was it to wrestle that match that night?
No, I was guided. I felt that Eddie was there with me and I was guided through it.
But it's not just about family ties. Sometimes, even the toughest, most stoic wrestlers show a softer side. Remember The Undertaker? The dead man, the phenom, the guy who's been scaring the pants off wrestlers and fans for decades. Well, even he had a moment where the mask slipped. It was at WrestleMania 24, Ric Flair's retirement match. After the bell rang and Flair's incredible career came to an end, something unexpected happened. The Undertaker, in a rare display of emotion, knelt down in front of Flair. It was a sign of respect, a moment of honor between two legends. Now think about it. This is The Undertaker we're talking about. The guy who's built his entire career on being this unstoppable, emotionless force. Seeing him break character like that, it just doesn't happen. And here's the thing, these moments of vulnerability, they often make us love these wrestlers even more. But it's not just about the fans. These moments can change entire storylines. After Eddie's passing, Chavo's character took on a whole new meaning. He wasn't just wrestling for himself anymore. He was carrying on a legacy. And The Undertaker? That moment of respect added depth to his character that lasted for years. When fans crossed the line. Legacies and respect are one thing, but let's talk about when things get ugly. You think you know chaos in the WWE? Wait until you hear about the times when fans decided they wanted to be part of the action. These moments will make you rethink everything you know about audience participation. Take CM Punk, for example. Known for his no-nonsense attitude, Punk found himself in a sticky situation during a live segment on Raw in October 2012. Picture this. Punk's in the middle of the crowd doing his thing when some rowdy fans start getting handsy. Now, wrestlers deal with overzealous fans all the time, but this time, Punk had enough. In a moment of frustration, Punk did something you don't see every day. He struck a fan. Yep, you heard that right. A WWE superstar hit an audience member on live TV. Talk about breaking character. The fan later claimed he'd file charges against Punk. It just goes to show how quickly things can spiral out of control when the line between performance and reality blurs. But Punk's not the only one who's had to deal with unruly fans. Remember Shawn Michaels? The Heartbreak Kid himself once walked out of a promo after a fan threw a battery at his head. This happened during a promotional event for WrestleMania or Serve. Can you imagine? There's Michaels trying to hype up the crowd for one of WWE's biggest events, and bam! He gets pegged with a battery.
Shawn got hit in the head with a battery, and Shawn left. We really didn't know what to do.
Vince McMahon, the big boss himself, once commented on this.
Shawn was not in the right frame of mind, I don't think, that day.
And when he walked off, I was upset because there's an audience there. You never.
He also said wrestlers are generally expected to maintain their composure and not walk out on the audience. But let's be real, is that always possible? When you've got objects flying at your head or fans getting aggressive, sometimes breaking character is the only option. These unscripted moments don't just affect the wrestlers involved, they have ripple effects throughout the entire WWE. After incidents like these, WWE had to step up its game when it comes to security. They've enhanced their crowd management protocols, all in an effort to keep both the wrestlers and the fans safe. But here's the thing, no matter how tight security gets, there's always an element of unpredictability when it comes to live events. That's part of what makes WWE so exciting. You never know what might happen next. Will a promo go off without a hitch, or will a fan decide to become part of the show when real life interrupts the show? Sometimes, though, it's not the fans who throw a wrench in the works, it's life itself. Wrestling might be all about the show, but there are times when reality comes crashing in, and the WWE has no choice but to break character. One of the most heartbreaking instances of this happened during the 1999 Over the Edge pay-per-view. Owen Hart, known for his high-flying stunts, was set to make a dramatic entrance from the rafters, but something went terribly wrong. In a tragic accident, Hart fell from a great height and suffered fatal injuries. The show was live. The cameras were rolling, and suddenly the WWE faced an unthinkable situation. How do you tell millions of viewers that a beloved wrestler has just died? Enter Jim Ross, the voice of WWE. Known for his passionate commentary, Ross now had to deliver the most difficult news of his career. With a heavy heart, he addressed the audience.
Here in Kansas City, tragedy befell the World Wrestling Federation and all of us. Owen Hart was set to make an entrance from the ceiling, and he fell from the ceiling. And I have the unfortunate responsibility to let everyone know that Owen Hart has.
In that moment, the line between entertainment and reality blurred completely. There was no script to follow, no character to play, just raw, unfiltered emotion. But Owen Hart's tragic accident isn't the only time the WWE has had to confront real-life tragedies on air. Fast forward to 2007, and another shocking event rocked the wrestling world. Chris Benoit, a respected wrestler known for his technical skills, was found dead along with his wife and son. The circumstances were disturbing, to say the least. The WWE had a murder mystery storyline planned, but reality had just served up a real-life tragedy that was far more shocking than anything they could have scripted. The circumstances that unfolded restricted the WWE to pay tribute to Benoit. So what do you do when your fictional storylines pale in comparison to the horrific real-life events unfolding? You break character. And that's exactly what Vince McMahon did. McMahon, the larger-than-life owner of WWE, known for his on-screen persona as much as his business acumen, stepped out of character to address the Benoit tragedy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Last night on Monday Night Raw, the WWE presented a special tribute show recognizing the career of Chris Benoit. However, now, some 26 hours later, the facts of this horrific tragedy are now apparent. Therefore, other than my comments, there will be no mention of Mr. Benoit's name tonight. On the contrary, tonight's show will be dedicated to everyone who has been affected by this terrible incident. This evening marks the first step of the healing process. Tonight, WWE performers will do what they do better than anyone else in the world: entertain you. This wasn't Mr. McMahon, the character, speaking. This was Vince McMahon, the person, the business owner, facing one of the darkest moments in WWE history. When scripts get tossed. We've all heard the term off-script in movies and TV, but in wrestling, it's a whole different ballgame. In the WWE world, they call it a shoot, when real competition or emotions take over, and the carefully planned script goes right out the window. Now, let's talk about one of the most infamous shoots in WWE history, the Montreal Screwjob. It was 1997, and Bret Hart was set to defend his title against Shawn Michaels. But here's where things get wild. WWE officials, including Vince McMahon himself, decided to change the match's ending without telling Hart. Imagine being in Hart's shoes. You're in the ring, thinking you know exactly how this match is going to play out. Then suddenly the ref calls for the bell way too early. You've just lost your title, and you had no idea it was coming. Hart's reaction, pure, unscripted fury. The cameras caught Hart's genuine anger and confusion. He spat at Vince McMahon, not something you'd expect from his good guy character. This moment blurred the lines between the WWE's scripted world and reality in a way fans had never seen before. But the Montreal Screwjob isn't the only time things got real in the ring. Let's fast forward to 2004, when Kurt Angle faced off against a young up-and-comer named Daniel Puder during a Tough Enough competition. The plan was simple. Angle would challenge the rookies to a few minutes in the ring, show off his skills, and that would be that. But Puder had other ideas. This guy was a mixed martial artist, and when Angle gave him an opening, he took it. Puder caught Angle in a Kimura lock, a legitimate submission hold. Suddenly, this wasn't just a scripted segment anymore. Angle was in real danger of tapping out on live TV. The ref, thinking quick, counted a pin even though Puder's shoulders weren't down, just to end the match. Can you imagine the tension in that moment? Angle, an Olympic gold medalist, nearly forced to submit by a rookie.
What are your memories of the Daniel Puder shoot incident?
Oh, Daniel Puder, he had me good. The stupid wouldn't stop bragging about it.
These unscripted moments don't just make for great TV, they can have serious consequences behind the scenes. The Montreal Screwjob led to real-life feuds and changed how WWE operates. And Puder's stunt, it didn't exactly endear him to the wrestling world. But here's the thing, as much as WWE tries to control every aspect of their shows, these real moments are what keep fans on the edge of their seats. When heels show their heart. When we think of WWE superstars, we usually picture larger-than-life characters with big muscles and even bigger attitudes. But sometimes these tough guys and gals show us a side we never saw coming. It's those rare moments when the mask slips and we see the real person behind the character. Take Randy Orton, for example. Known as the Viper, Orton's got a reputation for being one of the coldest, most calculating wrestlers in the game. But during the 2016 Survivor Series, we saw a completely different side of him. Picture this. Shane McMahon just took a brutal hit during a match. His son's at ringside, looking terrified. Now, Orton's supposed to be this heartless heel, right? But what does he do? He breaks character completely to comfort Shane's kid. Can you imagine? The Viper, the guy known for his ruthless RKOs, is suddenly playing the role of a caring uncle. This wasn't just a quick pat on the head, either. Orton took the time to reassure the boy that his dad would be okay. Remember, this was live TV. Orton could have easily stayed in character, maybe even taunted the kid. But he chose to be human instead. What makes this even wilder is that at the time, Orton was rolling with the Wyatt family. You know, that creepy cult-like group? So here's this guy, part of the darkest faction in WWE, showing genuine compassion. He also tweeted about it, saying, "I'm a father. I know what it's like to have your kids ringside when expletive goes sideways." But Orton's not the only bad guy with a heart of gold. Let's talk about Triple H, the Game, the cerebral assassin, the guy who's made a career out of being the ultimate villain. You'd think he'd be the last person to break character, right? Well, think again. During a January 2015 episode of Raw, Triple H showed us all that even the toughest wrestlers have a soft spot. There he was, doing his thing at ringside when he noticed a young fan starting to cry. Now, the old Triple H might have used that to fuel his heel persona. But what did he do instead? He broke character completely. Right there, in front of thousands of fans and millions watching at home, Triple H stopped being the bad guy and started being, well, a good guy. He engaged with the kid, even messed up his hair a bit to lighten the mood.
I immediately broke out of character and went over to him, and I put my head to his, and I messed his hair up, and I just said, "Hey buddy, it's okay," and we're just playing around.
But here's where it gets even better. Triple H didn't just stop at comforting the kid during the show. Nope, he took it a step further. After the cameras stopped rolling, He arranged for the boy and his dad to meet him and his wife backstage. That's right, the big bad wolf of WWE turned into a teddy bear when no one was looking. And you know what? Fans eat this stuff up. When wrestlers show this human side, it often leads to increased admiration. It's like we're all in on a secret. We know they're playing a character, but now we've seen the real person underneath. It makes the whole WWE experience feel more authentic. When kayfabe took a bow. While these moments of kindness are touching, they're nothing compared to the night wrestling's fourth wall came crashing down. Remember when WWE's biggest rivals hugged it out in front of thousands? It sparked a revolution that changed the game forever. Let's rewind to 1996, a year that would go down in wrestling history. WWE was riding high, but little did they know, a group of wrestlers was about to turn their world upside down. Enter the Clique: Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Triple H. These guys were the biggest names in the business, but here's the kicker. They were a mix of good guys and bad guys on screen. Now, imagine you're at Madison Square Garden watching what you think is just another WWE show. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall are leaving for WCW, WWE's biggest rival at the time. It's their last night, and something unexpected happens. These four wrestlers, who are supposed to be bitter enemies, come together in the ring and hug it out. Right there, in front of everyone. You're probably thinking, so what, it's just a hug. But in 1996, this was mind-blowing. See, back then, wrestling was all about keeping up the act, or kayfabe as they call it. Good guys and bad guys didn't hang out. They definitely didn't hug in public. This moment, known as the curtain call, blew that whole idea out of the water. The fans in the arena that night, they lost their minds. Here they were, seeing something that just didn't happen in WWE. It was like catching Superman and Lex Luthor grabbing a beer together after work. The illusion was shattered, and there was no going back. But the real drama? That happened backstage. Vince McMahon, the big boss of WWE, was not happy. Not one bit. This little group hug had just exposed the business in a way that had never been done before. McMahon cracked down hard, putting stricter rules in place about maintaining kayfabe. The fallout was huge. Triple H, being the youngest of the group, took the brunt of the punishment. He was supposed to win the King of the Ring tournament that year, but instead, he got bumped down the card. Who took his place? A guy you might have heard of. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah, that's Stone Cold. The curtain call indirectly launched one of the biggest careers in WWE history. But here's where things get really interesting. The curtain call didn't just change things for a few wrestlers. It changed wrestling itself. Fans started to see behind the curtain, and WWE had to adapt. This moment paved the way for what we now call the reality era in WWE. What's the reality era, you ask? It's when WWE started blending real life with storylines. Suddenly, characters became more complex. Storylines got more self-aware. The line between what's real and what's not got blurrier than ever. And fans? They ate it up. Think about it. Before the curtain call, wrestling was all about larger-than-life characters and simple good versus evil stories. After, we got edgier characters, more complex storylines, and a whole new level of fan engagement. Fans weren't just spectators anymore. They were in on the secret. This shift changed how fans connect with wrestlers, too. Now, we appreciate both the characters they play and the real people behind them. It's like we're all part of this big, wild wrestling family. We cheer for the storylines, but we also respect the real skills and sacrifices of the performers. The curtain call didn't just break kayfabe, it revolutionized it. WWE went from trying to convince us everything was 100% real to inviting us backstage, letting us in on the joke. And you know what? It made the whole thing even more entertaining. These moments matter because they make wrestling more than just a show. They make it real. They don't happen often, but when they do, they're magic.